100 days until the college football season kicks off with the Dogs ready to begin their title defense. Can the Heisman winner Caleb Williams bring a title to La La Land? Can Drew Allar and the Knits take over the Big Ten? And will the Coach Prime experiment work out in Colorado? By the way, 4 of the top odds-on favorites to win the ship, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and Clemson, are all looking for new quarterbacks. Speaking of quarterbacks, do you know the last time Jimbo Fisher had a successful one? I'll spare you the time. It was a decade ago with Jameis Winston at Florida State. Yeah, the rest either transferred or retired. Oh, and by the way, the Noles might actually return to their glory days. They returned 87% of last year's production. They just signed a top 5 transfer portal class, and the ACC is wide open. All right, so let's bring in the Florida State great himself, Bryant McFadden, BMAC, FSU, the favorite to win the ACC. How do you like their chances here?
Grace, I love the Noles. Their chances this particular year. It has to be our year. And you may wonder, yes, I went to Florida State. I have blood. I left blood, sweat, no tears, all there in Tallahassee. And I do believe this will be a monumental year for Coach Norvell and his staff and his players based on the trajectory in which they have displayed so far this year. When you talk about just winning the offseason, Grace, name me another university that has been more impressive in regards to recruiting. And oh, by the way, the transfer portal than Florida State. They've done a great job in developing the kids that are currently there on their roster. This will be an exciting year for Florida State fans. So get ready to buckle up and make sure you have your shades on because it will be a bright future moving forward. Look at some of the notable transfers that have all transferred in, experienced big-time playmakers. And oh, by the way, yesterday, Mr. Keon Coleman, the newly acquired player in the transfer portal, committed to Florida State, another big-time wide receiver to add to what they already have in place, along with the likes of Johnny Wilson, a 6'7" nightmare in regards to what he does in running routes and catching passes from a guy that potentially will be in the Heisman conversation in Jordan Travis. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited as well. And let's get ready to enjoy this experience.
Yeah, coming off their first 10-win season in a decade, returning the core of that offense, also returning potential top 15 edge pick, Jared Verse as well. Let's talk about their former coach, though. Jimbo Fisher, after a 5-7 season, his record at A&M in 5 seasons is worse than his predecessor, Kevin Sumlin, in that buyout. It's a whopper. It'll be $77 million in December. We know he needs to adjust that archaic offense. Bobby Petrino supposedly supposed to help there. Yeah. What are your expectations for the Aggies?
Got to put up numbers. Got to be consistent. It has been more of disappointments than anything over the last few years for Jimbo. And I think the main reason for Jimbo not being able to reach the level of expectations many people set for him, outside of Kellen Mond, the quarterback issue has been the biggest issue for them. The inability to find a consistent, productive player at the quarterback position has really hampered their development. Connor Wagman is slated to be the starting quarterback for this upcoming season. You still have Max Johnson as well. But if they can find a sense of consistency, stability at the quarterback position, many believe this is a team that could probably open a lot of eyes in the SEC. But me personally, Grace, the first six ball games for A&M will be the telling sign for them and what they can do this year, right? You look at New Mexico traveling on the road to Miami, Louisiana Monroe, Auburn, Arkansas, and Bama. If they can find a way to be above 500 in the first 6 games, I think that would be a big surprise, and hopefully we'll be able to add momentum throughout the rest of the way. Now, one luxury they have to their schedule, they don't have any back-to-back road games. So they're never on the road 2 times back-to-back. That's a huge plus. And like I said, it's about the quarterback play. And oh, by the way, Jimbo Fisher, usually you see Jimbo on the sideline with his glasses on. When he takes the glasses off, he's mad because someone is not doing what they're supposed to do. He has an opportunity to kind of oversee everything because, as Grace mentioned, Bobby Petrino will be the play caller for their offense. So will we see a more updated offense than what we've seen in years past? Many people are hopeful that they will see more flair to the offense than what they've showcased over the last few years.
Yeah, you're right about that. You mentioned that stretch beginning in September. Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama, and then at Tennessee.
Yes.
If he's looking at a losing record, we could be looking at some midseason trouble right there. Okay, speaking of potential quarterback problems, Georgia, Alabama, first and second best odds to win the Natty, then Ohio State, fourth best. All of these programs looking for a new signal caller. These guys have been the cream of the crop for forever, but how does this kind of even the playing field for the rest of the league?
To be determined, because we don't know exactly how these offenses will look without having their consistent guy in place than from what we've seen in years past. Georgia, let's start off with Georgia, right? Stetson Bennett was there for 10 years. I mean, of course, I'm just exaggerating, but it was like 6 years, right? And he really flourished at the quarterback position. Because of that, this team has been winning ball games. But many believe Carson Beck will be the heir apparent to Stetson Bennett. Played pretty good football week 1 a year ago against Oregon, 5 for 7, threw for a touchdown, over 70 yards. Throughout spring, he showcased a good command of the offense. And I think he will be the lead dog at this position for the University of Georgia. I think he will be the starting quarterback week 1. Now, will he hold on to that position? I think that we have to wait and see based on what he can do for Kirby Smart in the offense, because once again, the expectations are extremely high for UGA, and for them to reach those said expectations, Carson Beck, if he is the guy, he has to be able to lead them and put up numbers similar to what we saw from Stetson Bennett and exceeding the expectations. I think Carson has higher expectations because he was a guy that came in with a lot of accolades coming out of high school.
And then speaking of high expectations, Michigan has those as well. They're the favorite to win the Big Ten after beating Ohio State and making the playoffs 2 years in a row. J.J. McCarthy returns. By the way, so does Jim Harbaugh. A couple of NFL rumors in the offseason. How do you feel about the Wolverines going 3 in a row?
I love their chances, because you talk about J.J. McCarthy, extremely experienced player at playing the quarterback position in college football. When you look at what's surrounding Michigan, Ohio State, they got to find out what's next with C.J. Stroud moving on to the NFL. Outside of that, there are a lot of uncertainties with the other teams in the Big Ten. No Sean Clifford anymore at Penn State. Remember, it seems like he was the quarterback for Penn State for quite some time. So they got to find an answer to not having Sean Clifford. So this has to be Harbaugh and the Wolverines' year. They've done a real good job being able to beat their rival over the last 2 years in Ohio State. Now it's about taking the next step, because it's something about postseason play that has really hampered Michigan's success. They do a great job. They've gotten over the hump, beating Ohio State, dominated in the Big Ten. Now they have to take the next step. The next level is getting into the playoffs and not getting slapped on both sides of the cheek. Find a way to do what you did in the regular season and the postseason. I think Michigan Wolverine fans will be elated if that became a reality.
Their recruiting looking good, too. So it looks like the good vibes are back. We'll go to the Pac-12 for a minute here. USC bouncing back from a 4-win season, going 11-3 in Lincoln Riley's first year. You just talked to Coach on your podcast, so let's take a listen right now.
What are your expectations for you and your ball club in year 2 with you being the head coach out west?
Yeah, man, we definitely want to build. We were pretty close to getting in the playoff last year. Obviously, did some really good things. Didn't play the way we wanted to at the end. So it was kind of that bittersweet, right? You've come a long way, but you're that close to even taking it further. And I think my goal would be is that we take that experience and we grow from it, and we make the improvements that I really feel like we can make. And you can only do so much in year 1, and I think we did a lot, but there's still, like I keep telling people, like, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Like, we're not even good yet. I think we're gonna have a chance to get good here pretty quick, which obviously is going to be a lot of fun. So we're I don't want to put any limitations on what we think we can accomplish, and now it's kind of gone from teaching the guys kind of what winning looks like daily, what it feels like, what you have to do, convincing them that they can do it. Because when you've been down for a while, there's a psychological impact there too, right? That you got to, like a little hurdle that you got to get over.
Yep.
I think now we know we can win. I think it's a little more clear, like kind of what the, kind of where the areas are we need to take the jumps. And now it's just got to have a group that's laser focused on taking those jumps. So, yeah, I like our chances. I like our team. It's obviously early, but I don't want to put any limitations on what we can do.
So Lincoln Riley, the quarterback guru, returning his Heisman winner, Caleb Williams, Obviously, the injury in the Pac-12 championship against Utah, plus some non-stops from the defense, a big reason they lost that game and missed their shot at the playoffs. But what are your expectations for the Trojans this year?
You heard it from Coach. I mean, last year what we saw with them winning double-digit wins, he said it was the tip of the iceberg. So meaning the expectations are higher, understanding and knowing what they were able to do in year one under Lincoln Riley. So playoffs are bust. That has to be the expectations for the Trojans. Fight on, fight on. And here's why. Not only will they have the best quarterback in the Pac-12, Grace, he's arguably the best quarterback in college football. Playing under a play caller that he is familiar with and vice versa. Then you look at their schedule. Just look at the first 6 ball games. San Jose State, Nevada, Stanford, Arizona State, Colorado, Arizona. I mean, they really won't be tested until the month of October 14th. So for them, they will be the most talented team on the football field, clearly in the first 6 ball games. The same can be said throughout the entire schedule based on how well they've been able to recruit. And oh, by the way, doing pretty good in the transfer portal as well. So playoffs are bust. But the issue for USC, because of their entire schedule, some of their opponents that they're playing within the conference, they have no room for error. They cannot afford to have a slip-up. That's the misfortune they have going for them because they're in the Pac-12. So they have to be undefeated if they have any aspirations of trying to get to the playoffs. Oh, I'm sorry, I got to correct myself. I forgot. It's 12 teams now. So they might have room for error. I don't know how large that room is, but they might have a little room for error compared to years past, knowing that there were only 4 teams to get into the playoffs. So that makes the pressure even that much more for Lincoln Riley, knowing that you have to find a way to get into the playoffs. Last year, they weren't able to do so because of what happened in the championship ball game, but it's playoff or bust, because if that does not happen this year, it's a big-time disappointment, knowing and understanding that 12 teams can get to the playoffs. Think about this, Grace. If 12 teams get into the playoffs and USC is not one of those teams, how disappointed will you be?
Look.
And I don't think you have any dogs in the race with USC, but that would be disappointing to all college football fans.
Yeah, what a parting gift that would be to the Pac-12. They win it and then say, see ya. Texas trying to do the same thing, moving from the Big 12 to the SEC. And the Longhorns have the most famous third-string quarterback in the country in Arch Manning, but Quinn Ewers, the official starter. By the way, he cut the mullet, so he's all business. And we know how the joke goes. Is Texas back?
Oh my
I think we've been saying that for 10 years now, but are they?
They should be. They better be, right? What we saw last year in the Big 12 for Texas, a disappointing year. They've been so consistent in disappointing their fans. I think Longhorn fans would agree with me. That's the most consistent thing Texas has been able to do. It has been disappointing their fans. 8-5 last year, right? Think about this, Grace. TCU and Kansas State played for a Big 12 title a year ago. Texas did not. So they should be the favorites to represent, to win the Big 12. Look at their schedule. Week 2 against Alabama on the road. That will be a telling sign on what type of team this could be. But for them, looking at the rest of the way, they should take care of their business. I mean, Oklahoma is still trying to figure out their stride. Kansas State lost a lot. Kansas had a really surprising year a year ago. Can they repeat that success? We don't know. TCU lost a lot. I mean, it's wide open for Texas. So if they don't find a way to take care of their business in the Big 12, you talk about another disappointment. Heck, but like I said, that's the most consistent thing Texas has been able to do, disappoint their fans. But their fans for this year, you have to find a way to take care of your business because they never had an issue in recruiting. They've forever been able to get big-time stars to come to their program. They just haven't been able to consistently put production on film, on grass. They have to find a way to do so right now. Quinn Ewers should be the best quarterback in the Big 12. I mean, Worthy, one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. Isaiah coming back healthy, another outstanding pass catcher for the Longhorns. So time is now. Time is now. Longhorn fans, they've been waiting long enough. They want to put up that horn and do it proudly, understanding and knowing the product that steps on the football field is going to do numbers and, most importantly, win ball games.